Hello everyone and welcome back to PAX and Recreation. And today we are kind of late for this party, I know, but we're going to review the Lost Caverns of Ixalan PreCon Commander decks. And I know, we are super late to this party. There are two good reasons for that. One is, well, as you know, we are normally always late to these parties because I don't review them based on paper, but I like to play with them at least 3 to 4 games with each deck. Sometimes force my friends to play with the whole set so that we can see how they interact with each other. If you think about this as a board game and a themed board game and you buy all the decks at the same time. Is it fun? Is it balanced? Because I don't know, people play Magic in all sorts of different ways. That's why we got Commander in the first place. So I just think it's interesting to analyze all those angles. That's reason number one. Reason number two is that for some cosmic reason, my LGS took the longest of time to ship me this, or to get me this is the correct term. And so I delay on getting them, delay on playing them, and also how difficult is it to get people for a four-person Commander game in the holiday season. Yikes. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Lost Caverns of Ixalan PreCon Commander decks. So, we have 4, which is, I feel is like the okay number. Sometimes we get 2 in some sets, which feels like mandatory Commander decks. Most of the time the 2, whenever it's like a pair of Commander decks, they don't feel like the themes are cool enough or anything. It just feels like, oh, we released a new set, we have to release a Commander deck, so they release 2. Sometimes they release 5, but I don't feel like when they release 5 they use the number to their favor. It doesn't feel like, it's like it's 5, it's not 5 different decks of one color or 2 color combinations going Ravnica style. It just feels like we did 5 or something. And I don't remember seeing a 3-deck Commander deck set, which I guess is fair, but 4 makes more sense, which is also the reason why I don't remember seeing a 3-deck set, because, well, normally you play Commander with 4 people, so having the pack of 4 makes sense. Now, in terms of themes, I was very excited about these themes, not only because of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan and, the whole vampire, conquistador, dinosaur thing, Aztec, Mayan. Well, I think it's Mayan, because it's Maya, not Mayan, but whatever. So the whole, discovery of America kind of thing in Magic the Gathering coming back. But because the themes of the deck seem cool, as you can see. These follow the new box style of we show you the illustration, the colors, the name, and the theme of the deck for each deck. This is actually kind of cool at the same time, because when they preview the deck, they don't show you what the main card does, but they show you the theme. So if you want to pre-order, you can be like, oh, okay, this theme seems interesting. I will get it, right? So on that regard, the themes are kind of interesting. You have 2 3-color decks, 2 2-color decks, and you have Ahoy Matisse, which is blue, black, red, all about pirates, as you can guess. And if you see, we're going to compare the descriptions versus what the deck does, because I think this is very funny. Put pirates in the graveyard, bring them back bigger, which is okay, the name is kind of whatever based on the description, and now they only show you the preview of the Commander card, which, okay, and I love the personalized icons, but it's okay to go a little overboard. I'm gonna love the puns. Then you have Blood Rights, which is vampire minions, it's vampire tribals. What else can you do with vampires, right? Sacrifice to flying demons, so you evolve from vampires to demons. Merfolk deck, there's not much to say, it's just Merfolk. So I was kind of disappointed with this. I mean, we will talk about this in a second, but the theme is +1/+1 counters and explore for lands and buffs. Explore is the Ixalan version of Cascade. And Veloci-Ramp-Tor which is a very basic like dinosaur deck, same colors of Galta, etc. The best thing about this deck, obviously, is the name, Veloci-Ramp-Tor. We will see in a second. So, and then we will rank them on like which one is the best, and etc. etc. I will open them as I talk about each deck. Let's start with Ahoy Matisse. So, what is this deck about? So, well, pirates, as you can guess. In the back it says, battle your friends with powerful creatures and spectacular spells, blah, blah, blah. Set sail with the unsinkable Admiral Brass and leave no pirate behind. When crewmates meet their watery end, Brass can bring them back bigger, stronger, and even more ready to sink your foes. In the wake of the Phyrexian invasion, famed pirate Beckett Brass returns to the sea following rumors of treasure beneath Ixalan. It's cool that it's like half of this paragraph is just nothing. Then the other half is like how this plays, which is kind of not needed since we have this that I think is more like describes better. And then you have actual flavor, which is, not bad. It's like, oh well, that's right. We have story in Magic the Gathering. That's cool. So let's pop it right open and let's start talking about this bad boy here. Lost sailors aren't failures. But I always love the message inside the box. And the puns that are contained inside. So this packaging, we already reviewed this packaging in the past. I believe is a very clean package. It's funny that it took them so long to arrive to this package. It's like the most efficient packaging they ever made, which I like. At the same time, it disappoints me to a degree because well, the deck is all you care about, right? So the deck is here, very compact. Everything is in a single bulk. Before it was like 2 bulks. You get your insert. We love our inserts. You get the tokens that they reduce the amount because in the past you used to have some here, some here, some here. But let's be honest, how many of you actually use this? Like, I'm serious. Comment about that. How many of you actually use this? I pop them out and put them inside the cardboard box, and then I have to be honest with you. Like, this is the cardboard box. This is the collector booster, which is like, put in there to bite you, or to bait you, more like it. And I gotta be super honest with you. This is very smart packaging. See, like it's all recyclable. Nothing is plastic. Very space sensitive. Like we're only going to talk about the packaging with the first one, I promised. And it's like super efficient because we got used to certain things. Like, we get a deck box and we get a life counter and the insert, I guess. But I have to really ask, how many of you use this? Because what ends up happening, I buy multiple precons, as you may have seen in the channel, and I actually like playing with them. I like precons. I like that they're just like plug and play. You just play with them. Obviously, I like upgrading them sometimes, and by doing my own commander decks. But sometimes I just like stuff right off the box because you don't have time, or you just like a concept, etc. And if everyone is playing with precons, it's more or less balanced, so it's an easy way to balance stuff, even if it's not as personalized as playing with your own deck. But I have a big collection of these boxes with this thing inside, and then I also put the insert inside and the tokens. I just keep this like this because these boxes, well, these ones, the newer ones, you can actually flat them because they come flat in the box, but the old ones, you can't because they came like this in the box, literally. So I don't know what to do with them. I know that some of you are likely thinking, throw them away, like what seems to be the problem, officer? And it's like, I know, but there is something in my OCD that doesn't allow me to throw them out as easily. But whatever, the traumas aside, let's see the insert. I love inserts. They even more when they give you flavor, when they give you like more context about stuff. Let's remember that this deck is blue, black, red, so Admiral Brass Unsinkable, which is a great name. I'm not like super fan of the art. Yeah, it's kind of okay. And well, it says here like Beckett Brass is the steady leader of the Pirates of the Brazen Coalition, a charismatic captain. Brass has styled herself as governor of the coalition, hunting the disparate fleets under a single banner with the floating city of High and Dry as the coalition's capital. as governor, blah, 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 blah. So this is okay, this is interesting, it gives you flavor, and then, the story continues. The Phyrexian invasion shattered this dream, blah, blah, blah. So, please pause and read this if you want to see more about the lore. I already read it with the first one that I opened to play with. And then, how to play the deck. So you have the commander rules in here, you can ignore them. And I feel that it gets more and more repetitive, because this is literally what is in the back of the box. So no longer feels like, like a customized thing to do. I don't know. It feels meh, it feels cheap. The lore is there, and that I appreciate, I thank for. But the actual, how to play the deck and some insights, not as much. Let's see the collector booster sample pack, which, as you know by now, is just bait. You're not even going to get anything of value here, or maybe yes, if you're super lucky. And you actually get publicity always, which is whatever, and bait. So we get Akal Pakal, first among equals, which is a gorgeous treatment of a card, and Scytheclaw Raptor. So this one goes nicely into the dinosaur deck. This one, at the beginning of each player's end step, and I try to enter the battlefield. Not really, I guess. But this has nothing to do with your deck. It's just a nice to have that you get to bait you into buying collector boosters, because blah blah, and that's part of the commander magic. I feel that the collectors, I love how the tokens are a different color. Tokens, respect for tokens, man. Even Wizards doesn't give a flying F about tokens. So I think that PreCons, I don't know if it's just me, I consider myself an established Magic the Gathering player, in the sense that, as you may have noticed by now, I buy a lot of cards and I have a lot of decks, and I've been playing Magic for a long time. And then, as a lot of people, even more recently, with the whole, with changes in policies by Wizards and so on and so far, some people stop playing and then they come back, and then it's like the circle of life, but with Magic the Gathering, it just keeps happening. So I consider myself an established player, and yet I like the PreCons. PreCons are fun, and because sometimes you just want new ideas, right? Let's see this idea. However, they seem focused as products that you grab from the shelf, because the text inside doesn't say much, and they put all the efforts outside of the box now. But at the same time, they conceal most of the cards. They only show you the commander. So it's what is the goal here? I don't know what's the target audience here. I guess that I'm not alone, right? If you also play Magic the Gathering or whatever, and you also buy PreCons, right? For not all of them, but the ones that interest you, even if for the reprints. So let's see the tokens first, because I always like seeing the tokens first to see the story that this deck is going to tell us. So you got the commander. So Admiral Brass Unsinkable, which is a great name for a card. This is the plastic, commander card. And legendary creature Human Pirate is a 3/3 that says, when Admiral Brass Unsinkable enters the battlefield, mill 4 cards. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may return target pirate creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. It has base power and toughness for 4. It gains haste until the end of turn. Now, the finality counters don't interact per se with this, but there are some things that do interact with them. So the commander, you can tell right away from the commander that this is about, bringing pirates from the dead. So this commander is not bad. We will see how the deck accompanies in a second. Obviously, you can change the face commander from a PreCon, but normally I think that the appeal of a PreCon is that the face commander is what makes you buy the PreCon most of the times, unless you want reprints or something, but or some specific card that has been reprinted or some value or whatever. But normally, because this is a new card, the deck is created more or less around it. So if you like the idea, this is a good thing to upgrade around. Sometimes some of the cards in the 99 are better than the commander, but And you normally get like a sub-commander, which we're going to see in a second. So in terms of token, there is Ragavan here. Sadly, the good Ragavan is not here, it's just token Ragavan. Treasure token, Salamander Warriors. We got a bunch of these. Salamander Warriors, you will see why in a second. A map token, a couple of copy tokens, the Monarch, and City's Blessing, of course, because Ixalan. On the other side, we get Pirates, Skeleton Pirates, a Shapeshifter, a couple of Shapeshifters, and Treasures. So you are seeing more or less where this is going to be, but there is not that many surprises with this deck. This is literally a Pirate Revival deck. So on the other side, we get the how to play this, which I also put in the box, so you can imagine like my boxes normally look like this. An insert, the life counter thing, and the how to play card, and the insert. Once you open them, they get very rebellious. So I guess there is that. And the commander and the co-commander. So I call it co-commander. Some people call it alternative commander or alternate commander or second commander or whatever. Calling it co-commander or second commander, I agree that it's kind of misleading because it's not like you can have both like partner. It just means that the deck is designed to either work with one or the other, and you can shift them and they should work and they have the same colors and all that. However, in this deck, I don't think that's the case because Admiral Brass does what we already saw. Fair enough commander. It enters, mills you, and at the beginning of combat, you can bring a pirate with haste. So it's like just keep killing them and they will come back. But Don Andres, the Renegade, it's a different beast. He's a vampire pirate, which is interesting because the deck is not about vampires. It's about pirates, yes, but you will see that the synergies with pirates are not there. I guess they just put a pirate, but this was created specifically for this deck. That's why I find it funny. Each creature is a 4/3 for 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red that says each creature you control but don't own gets a +2/+2, has menace and death touch, and is a pirate in addition to its other types. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own, create 2 tapped treasure tokens. So this card is not bad. The problem is that it has nothing to do with the deck. So if you can keep it in the 99, sure, I guess. Sometimes it will come to be useful. But the main condition of this card is each creature you control but don't own gets +2/+2 and it becomes a pirate, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, the whole deck is designed to bring pirates from your graveyard. So why do we have a card here that says, oh, if you control stuff that you don't own, they become pirates? It's like, yes, there are a couple of cards here that enable you for this, but it's not like the whole deck is about that. It just feels like, eh? And whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own, create tapped treasure tokens. Like, eh? Like, it has nothing to do with the deck. Like, it just feels like they had this idea and it was like, does it feel the vampires one? No? Oh, okay. Make it a pirate. Does it feel the pirate deck? I don't know, I guess. So if you, like, this card, the feeling that I got with this card multiple times when playing the deck is the same feeling that you get with some of the decks that have plane chase cards. In the decks that have plane chase cards, so basically the ones from March of the Machine and Doctor Who ones, but mostly the March of the Machine ones, you do get some cards that have some effect and then they have an effect specifically for plane chase cards. The problem is that if you're not playing with plane chase cards, what's the point? So the card is not very good because they are leveraging the cost of the card in terms of mana cost because of the plane chase effect, and they don't have, like, you're not using them, so it's kind of super pointless unless you always play with the plane chase cards. Here is like the same. If you pull this card playing, you will be like, oh, okay, I guess that if I have free mana I can pull it, I guess, if the conditions are met, but meh. It's sad because I think that the co-commander for this deck, unless I'm missing something in the lore, should have been the Indomitable, and in a similar fashion to what you could do in the PreCon from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty for vehicles. Like one of the vehicle is Shirekai, you know, the big mecha, and it says it can be your commander, which is weird, but it's a thing. Here, I guess that the Indomitable should have the same treatment, but it doesn't. So the Indomitable is part of the new cards. The new cards are normally the first 10 or something whenever you pull a PreCon. Normally, not always. But the Indomitable is one of the new cards for sure, and it's a vehicle that costs you 2 and 2 blue, and it has trample, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It has crew 3, and you may cast the Indomitable from your graveyard as long as you control 3 or more tapped pirates and or vehicles. So the Indomitable is great because you can, and I mean, it's not like a super fit in this deck, but it's just great overall because as long as you keep bringing stuff from the graveyard, and the whole purpose of this deck is just to keep kamikazing your pirates against your opponents so that you can bring them back from the graveyard and etc. The Indomitable has the same effect actually. You can just crash it if it dies, if you still have pirates and they are tapped, it's okay. Which, if you think about this is like a very good loop in the sense that the only problem is that it doesn't have haste. So the first turn not very useful, but the second turn onwards, unless I'm like misusing this card completely, this is very useful because what happens is, as long as you have 3 pirates, this is great. You tap 3 pirates, 1/1s or like whatever, but if you tap 3, it's great because you need crew 3, right? You attack with the Indomitable. The Indomitable has trample. If for some reason it gets destroyed, and or even if you use it for defending, which is also great, it has trample, so you can, you know, if a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Technically, it counts for the Indomitable when it's crewed, so that's good. But you can just attack it with everyone. What happens is that it will attack or defend, get destroyed, and you use pirates to crew this, right? So it gets destroyed, and if you're attacking in your turn, it's cool. You can just attack like crazy with the Indomitable, which is a great name for a ship. You attack with it, it can die, okay, whatever, goes to the graveyard. You have your pirates tapped because you used them to turn this into a vehicle, and so you can just cast it again from the graveyard. The only problem is that it doesn't say, it's not like casting without paying its mana cost, so you can keep it coming, but it's going to drain you. I just wanted to touch on this because I really like the combo of the Unsinkable and Indomitable. It just hits different. Besides that, the theme of the deck is pretty much what you're expecting. You have a lot of pirate synergy, a lot of graveyard synergy. However, you don't have as much milling power as I would like. I love the Francisco Foul Marauder. It can block. Francisco explores. It has partners, so you can, you know, put it with another commander, so that's not bad. The problem is that I don't remember if you have another commander, you're like, oh, okay, I can do like a combo. The Green Captain's Locker, so Pirates of the Caribbean much. You can look at cards. Cards in your graveyard gain escape, so this is all about taking cards off your graveyard. And this is the funny thing about this deck, that is that Skeleton and Pirates just keep getting better and better. You get a lot of, you know, direct attacks like Broadside Bombardiers, and the fun thing is that, and you know, you create treasures because are pirates, right? But the fun thing is that you don't get that many ways to put stuff into your graveyard without it being by suicide. And with that I mean, if you look at the cards, which, you know, I'm going to speed it up a little because otherwise this video is going to be like 5 hours. You get a lot of whenever you deal combat damage, whenever you deal combat damage, and like, you know, it's a bunch of just attack, which makes sense. But that basically what that's telling you is that the commander is good for some things, but the deck itself, the flow of the deck is attack, and the deck will reward you with treasure tokens, will reward you with, ways of going around stuff and have capacity to summon stuff from the graveyard, but it doesn't mill. It's not a milling deck. Besides the captain or the admiral, sorry. Besides Admiral Brass, which has mill 4 cards, but besides that, you don't get that many ways of, you get you get some like ways of blowing the entire board, like Blasphemous Act and what is the other? Blood Money, etc. Which for you is pretty much golden, because like, destroy everything, you get treasure tokens, and then you can start bringing them back. It all depends on how you play, if you have your commander or not, and there is that trick with the commander, is that it doesn't have like eminence, so you need to have them on the battlefield. So if you're going to kill everything, let's hope that your commander is not in there, so you can bring them back. And in terms of the color combination, it feels a lot. It's just very, very black and red. The blue part is kind of there, I guess, because you get some surveying, some extra options, but pirates, most of the pirates at least are pretty reddish. You get the original Admiral Beckett Brass here as well, and you can use her as the commander. It doesn't change the colors of the deck, but is different because ironically this version of Beckett Brass does work with what's the name of Don Andres, right? Because Don Andres is like, if you control stuff, and the Admiral Beckett Brass says that at the beginning of your end step, gain control of target non-land permanently controlled by a player who has dealt combat damage by 3 or more pirates this turn. So but again, it feels like there is a couple of cards there that do that, and ironically they are together, like Hostage Taker and Admiral Beckett Brass are some of the cards that will take hostages. It doesn't feel like it's a hostage deck. It's a shame, because Zara Renegade, you can see that it's weird, like I don't know how, this is something that we commented a lot of times when talking about PreCons and how they work, and even boosters. We're looking at the cards, right? Like, so far, this much of the PreCon is about treasures and bringing stuff from the graveyard. And then suddenly, and this is like the default order, if you open one, it will be the same order. So I just find it funny that then you go to Admiral Beckett Brass and it's like, okay, now we're going into kidnapping territory, or at least getting cards from other people's territory. And you get Zara and all that stuff. But again, it's like 3-4 cards there for a deck that really feels like a pirate tribal, and not like a hostage pirate deck. It's just a damage pirate deck. So it's like do damage, create treasure tokens, keep bringing stuff from the graveyard. So it's basically like, it's like unsinkable, right? It's the Indomitable. It's just like attack, never look back. And you get some blue to protect yourself. Some cards are doing not that much in there, like Ramirez de Pietro, and some like normal cards, because I guess that they get to a point in the pre-cons that they're like, okay, we already put the good stuff in here, we can just keep moving. There are some good cards in here that were reprinted, like this one. When another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. See, this is the type of card that really incentivizes you to just keep throwing stuff at your opponents, which is, I guess, is a very pirate thing to be. Is just keep attacking. Ramirez de Pietro when he was alive, so there is that. The mana base is pretty much what you expect. You get some signets because Ravnica, I guess, was right off the door. They give you some flexibility. They're not giving you any fixes. The basic mana and the mana that you have is the normal. You get all the commander staples like Command Tower and Soul Ring, etc. So that's pretty much, the normal stuff in terms of mana base. Nothing to go crazy about. And you get a bunch of like basic mana, which it's easy for you to upgrade, or at least to change some of the meh ones that are here that enter the battlefield tapped. Because, well, this is not the slowest deck of them all. This deck is kind of okay in terms of speed. for a deck that doesn't have green on it, which is, very good, I think that what this deck does that is kind of funny is go around the cost of things by using treasure tokens for everything. And the good thing and the bad thing, I guess, about doing these videos this late is that the market value has already shifted. So we can talk about reprints all you want. It's kind of pointless because most of the cards, the value is already completely all over the place. I get the biggest reprint that this one had was this one, Black Market Connections. It's still a good card, a very powerful card. This card is kind of here because, well, pirates. This is the other art we had it from the Dungeons and Dragons deck with the Dungeons and Dragons art, and again, treasure tokens and shapeshifters. And with shapeshifters, you can just more pirates, I guess. But at least you can always have treasure tokens, which is another way of mana fixing you. So, long story short, so far with this one is, you get some pirate speed, you get a lot of pirating themes, but the deck, at least, not a third, but a fifth of the deck, not a fourth, a fifth of the deck feels very... why are we here, right? So if you're going to upgrade it, you need to decide if you want to go with the theme of the deck, which is mill and cemetery, and just attack, or you want to go with the alternate theme of the deck, which is kind of present in the deck, which is kidnapping your opponent's creatures, which is a thing, I guess. Let's move into the next one. Is Blood Rites for vampire conquistadors, and in this case they are more religious and they become demons as well. Let's see what it says here, because we love this. Blood, sweat, tears, blood, and blood, which, well, it fits. So also this packaging is a lot easier to open than some of the other ones, so let's give some credit to the guys. I know that there is someone at Wizards that designs packaging and no one cares about that person, but I appreciate you, brother or sister. You are the unsung hero of Blizzards of the Coast. So, same logic here, different tokens, because why not? Let's see what we have here. Same logic, so your envelope, your collector booster, the deck box with Clavileño here, which is the weirdest name they could find for a commander, with a more or less Spanish Mexican name. Deck box, life counter, same old. Insert, let's see our insert that will never close again in the same way, because F me. Great art from Clavileño. Clavileño, first of the blast. Clavileño is a true believer's true believer. A killer who sees himself as a mortal tool to be used by immortal designs, etc., etc. You can read this if you want, pausing the video. Or if you want the podcast version, just let me know. But it also has here information about the Phyrexia, which is great because, it's like, oh, why things are moving on Ixalan? Oh, because the Phyrexians attacked everything, which is like, oh, thank you, because, the actual invasion didn't last that long. We didn't read the back of the box because we are going to read it here because it's the same for all decks. So battle your friends with same initial paragraph or block for everyone. Join Clavileño's sinister ritual and sacrifice your vampires to gain value. If they have been blessed by Clavileño himself, those vampires will be reborn as a flying vampire demon, ready to sink their teeth into your opponents. A true believer to the core, Clavileño seeks the Legion's progenitor god Aklasotz and the power he can bestow. Not much of a lore part in there, but another thing that I like is that but I also question is that you have the card for the deck itself, which is this one where he looks kind of crazy, which is this art. This applies to every commander deck for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And then you have the other art that is used sometimes in the box, actually a lot of times in the box and in the insert. And it's like This art is by Setia1, or Lai Setia1, or Lia Setia1, and this one is by Matt Stewart. So they asked two different people. I don't know if they pick the one that they like the most, and then one gets to goes into the card, the other goes into the packaging, I guess. I don't know what the criteria is there. I will be very interesting to know this. This is the sort of thing that maybe I am the only dude that cares about this, but I am really curious about that logistics aspect of, because I know how they recruit artists, I know how they pay them, and all that, but I don't know how they decide what goes where. Besides, I guess it looks good. Let's go. But whatever. So publicity, and then get lost, which okay. 1/1 white, instant, destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller creates 2 map tokens and a foil Trashing Brontodon. For 1 and 2 green is a dinosaur 3/4 that says pay 1, sacrifice Trashing Brontodon, destroy target artifact or creature. So two boosters, well, booster samples that we open, 2 dinosaurs that we open for the dinosaurs deck. So biased? I don't know. Let's see if I can open this easily, because with the other one, it wasn't that easy. There you go. The wonders of gloves, I guess. So, Clavileño, first of the blessed. Let's see. Placeholder a card. That means that, my dear friends, we can now close the box to never open it again, and maybe throw it into a fire. The commander and the co-commander. So, Clavileño, first of the blessed. 1 white, 1 black is a 2/2 legendary creature vampire cleric that says whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon. In addition to its other types, it gains, when this creature dies, draw a card and create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. So, you know how every vampire deck has to be commanded by Edgar Markov because it has Eminence, and that's like the worst decision that Wizards ever made in the game. Well, this one is a good contender, but still, I guess that if you have an Edgar Markov deck, you will just put Clavileño inside, so it's good for the 99. But this card is very good in this deck, and you will find out why. Like, this deck really pulls its weight, and it's all because of the commander, mostly because, as you can see, this is very, whenever you attack, any vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon, and it gains, when it dies, draw a creature. So you have weak vampires, and the whole thing, which is very theme appropriate, it's very lore appropriate, satisfying even, is that this is like a cult, right? This is like a weird religion that is going on here, which has some things of Catholicism for some reason, because vampire conquistadors. But the whole reason here is that he's promising these vampires like a new life because of the new god and all this stuff. And the gameplay actually matches that. Like, you want to kill them, you want to send them into kamikazing themselves so that they come back as stronger vampire demons. So that's very flavorful. And it's actually very powerful as well. So this deck is very good because of the commander. And then you have the co-commander, which is Carmen, Cruel Sky Marcher. For 3, 1 white, 1 black is a 2/2 that has flying and says whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen, Cruel Sky Marcher, and you gain 1 life. When Carmen attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is a kind of a running theme with these decks, which is weird, because these decks, the 4 of them, and we'll talk about this in the conclusions, are very fun to play with. But all the co-commanders just feel like they should have been like a different deck altogether, to various degrees. Like, this one is not as far-fetched as the other one, as and Don Andres, but you know, whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, the thing is that with like, as a 99 card is kind of okay, because you don't sacrifice stuff. It needs to die. I mean, sacrificing counts as die, I guess. But like, as a commander, well, you will see in a second. It works with the deck, but it's not as good as Clavileño. I think that's the problem. Now, for the tokens, because tokens tell a story. So Clavileño plastic card, limited edition, blah blah blah, and Vampire with lifelink, so the usual. Vampire with lifelink, the usual. This they gave us different art. Another Vampire with lifelink, so they gave us all the arts. That's nice. The classic included a bat, a very Ixalan-like bat, blood token, Soaring Lord of Innistrad. You will see why. Creatures you control +1/+0, City's Blessing, and then vampires, Vampire Demon. So, and funny enough, they at least had the common sense of putting them separate, but and at the same time they are the back of the vampires. So cool, because they will transform. So I like those details. So the tokens tell you exactly what you need to know, which is the deck is all about Clavileño, but there is a Soaring somewhere. So let's see. Charismatic Conqueror is one of those cards that, when it enters the battlefield untapped and under an opponent's control, they may tap a permanent. If they do, you create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. This is like great white control. And for this deck, this works like magic. You put this thing in there. This is basically heuristic studies for vampires. It's just there annoying people. Every time they put anything into the battlefield, artifacts or creatures, you basically say, do you tap them? And likely they will be like, no. So you create a vampire. Then you commit kamikaze with them, and you bring them back as a flying demon. So this card is amazing in this deck. Elenda's Hierophant. So gain life, good because a bunch of vampires just have lifelink. So there is that. And when she dies, you create X white vampires. So again, setting you up to have all that tribal energy. A lot of good new vampires playing here. March of the Canonized. Again, create X, and at the beginning of the upkeep, if you have the option to white and black is 7 or greater, everyone create a 4/3 white and black creature vampire demon. So it creates you food for the ritual, and then it even gives you demons later. So great vampire generating powers here. So I think that this deck is amazing with Clavileño. Like, the deck is good, but Clavileño just slaps this entire deck. Which is weird because, for example, Beckett Brass kind of works with the deck, but not that much. But as you can see here, the whole theme here, like for example, this card here, this card is a pain in the ass. It's great. Like for 1/1 black, Vampire Soldier with Menace, and it's a 2/2, and it says that if you pay 1/1 black and sacrifice it, each non-token vampire you control gains Persist. So they die, but they come back with a -1/-1. So there you go. It says. You may be thinking, well, it would be great if it was non-vampire, but this applies. If it is applied to most of your vampire tokens, they will die because 1/1s with -1/-1 they die. It sucks for the vampire demons, but it gives you a lot of playing around with your stuff without it dying. Also, one thing that we have to notice is that if you get cards, which I think we have a couple here, that offset that -1/-1, it's cool. You can even bring back this one with some of the cards to bring vampires from the cemetery or from the graveyard, and there you go. Master of Dark Rites. So sacrifice stuff to give you mana to summon stuff quickly, which is very good. Promise of Aklasots, which is a card that is specifically made for this deck. And it's an adventure. It's weird because I think it's the only adventure in this deck, and I don't know if it is in all the decks. I need to remember. But interesting because you can sacrifice a non-demon creature, and if you do, you create one vampire for flying demon, like with 4/3. So that's good for 2/1 black. But so again, non-demon. So you sacrifice vampires, man. That's all about what all these things about. And then you, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, populate, which is create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. So the whole game, like you can do a 1/2 here and just kill 2 vampires and get 2 demons that fly and are like very bad. And again, the flavor is on point because of the whole. I love when cards like play the whole thing. Another good new card, Order of Sacred Dust. This is a weird card. This is like an all of nothing card. It's an end gaming card. I ended a couple of games with this card. But it's a card that in the second game that I won, if I recall correctly, it just sat in my hand for like the entire game. Until at the end I was like, I guess it's now or never. Because like it's kind of expensive for what it is. Unless you use Convoke for it, right? And if you do, it it just becomes exalted. And whenever creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn, and other vampires you control have exalted. So the problem is that it, whenever it attacks alone, and this is like a horde card, so it becomes a 6/6, and the other vampires have exalted as well. But so it multiplies that effect against this one. So it becomes a 6/6 by default, but if you use Convoke, depending on how many vampires you use to convoke it, those vampires with exalted multiply, like increase this one. So this goes like, it has flying, lifelink, and haste. So it's like it hits the battlefield and you can just kill people immediately with it, which is very good. Austere Command, classic board wiping. Kindred Boon, which it's a very card for vampires with divinity counters there. Maven Frame, Dusk Apostle. When one or more non-token vampires you control attack, create a 1/1 vampire. So again, more ways of creating vampires everywhere. Radiant Destiny, it has Ascend, and there's a benefit to creature type, and the creature type gets +1/+1. So see, there's a bunch of ways of offsetting that -1/-1. So it's not that bad. And actually, if you can cheat that card out of your graveyard, you can actually keep reviving them, which is very good. Welcoming Vampire. When one or more other creatures with power 2 or less enters the battlefield you control, draw a card. So this is one of the few ways that this deck has to give you card advantage, which is in sync with the theme of, vampires. So I guess that's okay. You get Bloodghast, Blood Tracker, very thematically correct thing here. Butcher of Malakir. This is very good. Again, if you're going to play the suicide game with your cards and just, push all the things, this is, they just keep draining your opponents based on that. Champion of Dusk, which is very Cordial Vampire. Crossway Troll Market. You can see that you get a lot of good cards here. Damn. So target creature destroyed this way can be regenerated, has overload, so not bad. Drana, Liberator of Malakir. Same logic here. Exquisite Blood, which is at the time was the most expensive reprint, if I recall correctly. And it's a very good card. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So that's very good because this is all about hitting a lifelink. The only thing that I will say is that you don't get that many cards like this one that says pay whatever and pay X life. So you get a bunch of lifelink and you get a bunch of alternative ways of getting life, but you don't really get that many cards in here that make you pay with life. Like you do drain people because it's black and white, right? So it's Orzhov, but like it's a very, it's more, all the like black stuff that is here is more like to penalize your opponent than it is to like offset you with advantage in exchange for sacrifices. So you don't have the good old thing. Sorry, Lord of Innistrad. There you go. You don't have the classic black thing of like, oh, pay X life, do that, which is like offsetting the costs of like mana. So I think that the biggest drawback for this card is the mana. The mana base is not that good, which we will see in a second. It's the same as the others. Like all of these have the same mana base, pretty much. This is like 2 colors, which should be easier. But we know how precons work. The more colors they have, they need to give you better mana bases, so they get better. But it is what it is. So Sorin is obviously, they put here the Planeswalker that obviously is all vampire centric. So create vampires with lifelink, which now that I think about it is because we have black vampires and black and white vampires. That's why we have different tokens. You get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+0, and destroy up to 3 target creatures and or other planeswalkers. Return each card to the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control, which is good to bring back the card that allows you to keep stuff alive. So Utter End, which is very good. Vona, Butcher of Magan. By the way, now that I have here, sorry, and I have to say that it was a missed opportunity to not put here Anguished Unmaking, which is a card that just fits here this deck perfectly, but whatever. It's like that one is like obvious upgrade for like Orzhov decks, so whatever. But the Blood Chief, all of them have like a weird artifact, by the way. That it's not like weird, but it's like thank you, I guess. Like I don't know, it kind of fits, but it's like it's not the center of the deck. So some Ixalan decks here, or similar, that, you know, some offsetting lands, but you have a bunch of enters the battlefield tab, which is not that good. You get the Voldaren state here, which is very good. At least you have some effects for paying life here, which is not bad. And but besides that, you know, not that much flexibility. Again, more stuff that creates your tokens. This is where the cards that are less good are here. And I said this with Source to Plowshares in the camera. Blood Artist, Blood Necromancer, the you know, this is like likely some of the stuff that you're going to cut is here, but also you're going to cut some of the rares, not because they're just too expensive for what they do. Bartolomé de Presidio, sacrifice another creature artifact, +1/+1 counter, which is like okay, but this type of card is similar to the other deck. This type of card fits the narrative of like, if you use the second commander, I guess this is great, but if you don't, it's like meh. See, again, for dying. So it really feels like it's like you have like 70% of the deck is one deck, and then, or like 80%, and then 20% is the other deck. That is like as an alternative win condition. Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, you know, the normal stuff. Heirloom Blade, Mind Stone, bad. Orzhov Signet, Sol Ring. You have some boots in here, not the good boots, but the boots. Talisman of Hierarchy, Wayfarer's Bauble, with the Ixalan art, not bad. Okja Blog, Command Tower, Landscape, you know, the usual stuff for this type of deck. Again, you don't get that much speed about a False God, because of course, and then a bunch of basic lands. So overall, with this deck, the whole thing is Clavileño, MVP. You want Clavileño, you need Clavileño. Clavileño is your new master and lord. It is one of the best vampire commanders in my humble opinion, and the deck, 80% of it plays in favor of Clavileño. The other part of the deck is playing in favor of the other commander. I don't know. So let's see. Next deck, we'll do like the summary and comparison at the end. Explorers of the Deep, Merfolk. So green and blue, and I have to be honest with you, this was the one that I was the least excited about just by looking at the box when they announced them, because it was like, +1/+1 counters, explore. Like, do you really need to release a +1/+1 counter on each PreCon set that you release, Wizards? It just feels like, yes, you have like different colors, different themes, but it's like, isn't it the same deck at the end of the day? Like, Brine and Punishment. Okay. So, one thing that you will realize here is that, and this is something that I guess people that play like CEHD, like competitive commander, will tell you, is that a good commander deck, or like the competitive commander decks, normally are centered around a single play, a very good play, but a single play nonetheless. What do I mean with that? What I mean with that is, for example, in these decks that we've seen so far, they wouldn't have two strategies. They will have one strategy and stick hard to it. And then all the optional cards will be, tool cards. And what I mean with tool cards is basically like, well, literally tooling, in the sense that is, the cards that you need because of what your opponents may do. So you need some removal, you need some board wipes, You need some, and removal is like a whole category because you need enchantment removal, creature removal. You need a typical cards to hold down a commander, like what's the name of the one that transforms the commander on a metal scarab? I don't know, but you need cards that transform commanders, not remove commanders, because they can just come back. So you need some of that as well, and that takes like, I don't know, 10 cards out of the 99, maybe 15. And then you need to have like the good mana base, and the good mana base, besides the basic lands, is like another 15 cards at least, if not 20, depending on how much you want to spend. And then the rest of the deck is just playing around the theme. And the problem with these precons, and these are good precons, mind you, we're going to talk about that at the end. Pause it if you want. Also, there is all of them talk about like during the invasion, this happened, that happened, so that's great. The Merfolk looks very different in both illustrations, I have to say. So, like, in one looks more aggressive than in the other, or more, for lack of a better word, more masculine, I guess. Explore the depths with Hackball and his fellow Merfolk that grow over time with +1/+1 counters. Once you have deployed your team, Hackball will let them explore for enough buffs and mana to change the tide of battle. Haha, they use tide because water. As a researcher of water currents and flow, the Merfolk Hackball guides his explorers away from danger and towards exciting new wonders. So that's kind of the theme. It's a Simic deck, but it's literally a Simic deck, not only in colors, but like in theme, because you know that Simic is all about evolution and all that. And it's like, this is like literally Merfolk evolving and getting stronger, which is a thing. But yeah, what I was saying about the precons is that they sometimes they need to include stuff here to entice you and be like, hey, you wanna buy some precons, kid? Because they need to buy them, they need to sell them to the old folks as well, right? The people that already play Magic. Tishana's Tidebinder. Oh, I guess this is good for this deck. Merfolk Wizard. When Tishana's Tidebinder enters battlefield, counter up to one target activated or triggered ability. If an ability of an artifact, creature, or planeswalker is countered this way, that permanent loses all abilities for as long as Tishana's Tidebinder remains on the battlefield. And then, Bartolomé del Presidio. Nice art, I have to say. And, we just saw him, so very nice looking art, I have to say. Well, so for the precons, what happens is that, at least for these ones, it depends from precon to precon. I don't know how much it is the team that designs the precon, because it depends on the set and it depends on yada yada. But I don't know how much is the team that designs the precon, and I don't know how much is Wizards' financial team that goes like, nah, we can't include this card, we can't do that. Like on these decks, you can tell. Like, for all that people that, with innocence, I guess, say things like, no, Wizards doesn't operate based on the second hand market. It's like, all of these cards have like a $30 card in them, like 25, 30, around that value when they were launched. Now they are not as valuable because, well, they got diluted because of these decks. But you can do that by accident. This is a proof that like Magic is an economy, and if Wizards wanted to make like amazing, super crazy precons, that will be like the precons that the amazing designers at Wizards of the Coast will do for them to play, that will be closer to the Secret Lab one that costed $100-something, and still that deck was like a capped version of that deck, because the actual deck from Gavin has to be like a freaking machine gun. But economics, right? So like, this is a value game. Let's see the main commander, Hackball of the Surging Soul. So Merfolk for 2/1 green, 1 blue. Then a creature, Merfolk Scout, that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, each Merfolk creature you control explores, which means reveal the top of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on the exploring creature, then put that card on the back or put it. Then put that card back or put it into your graveyard. So it's a very good way of ramping. It's coming. Whenever Hackball of the Surging Soul attacks, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you don't, draw a card. So as you can see, this is a very good Simic commander, and overall, I will say Merfolk Tribal. Mostly because of the first phrase. If it was only the second effect that just applies to him, not. But it says whenever a Merfolk, each Merfolk creature explores. And exploring is very good because you get lands, and otherwise you get +1/+1 counters on exploring creature, and you can just put a land for free every time that this dude attacks. So for this card to be like crazy good, it will need to have like, I don't know, haste, or I guess some sort of ward, or if like ideally it should have flying, but like a flying Merfolk, I mean, they are flying fish, but like flying fish. But yeah, so this is just me asking for wishes. And then you have Solatoyak, the Smiling Flood, which is an interesting creature. Is for 4, 1 green, 1 blue, is a legendary creature, Salamander Serpent, that is a 6/6 that says, whenever Solatoyak, the Smiling Flood, enters the battlefield or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island, in addition to its other types, for as long as it has a flood counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, untap each permanent you control with a counter on it. So, this is the exception to the rule. There is always an exception to the rule. Like, this co-commander works with the main commander, like, beautifully. Like, if these cards, for some cosmic reason, had partner, this would be like a very broken pair of cards. But they don't. So you can just pick which one you want to use, and to be honest, you will likely still prefer Hackball. Solatoyak, I tried to use it once as the commander, and it's too big, too costly. Like, its effect is good, but like everything becomes an island in addition to other types, and it's like cool, but if I already have this much mana, it's kind of whatever at this point. I mean, it's useful, but it's kind of whatever. Plus, it's only blue. And at the beginning of your end step, you untap everything with a counter on it. So that's good, because the flood counters count, so your mana is recyclable. But if this entered first, this is very good, because everything that has a +1/+1 counter, because it says a counter on it, it doesn't say a flood counter on it. So that combo right there is ultra dangerous. It makes this pair very crazy. It's a crazy ramp +1/+1 crazy match made in heaven here. So now the problem is this deck, and you will see, this deck doesn't have a proper way of fetching cards from it. So to pull this combo is luck, because you get your commander and then you have to fish for the other one. Haha, get it? Because it's a Salamander Serpent. But I digress. Just get a tutor. The problem is that tutors in green and blue, well, you have tutors in blue. So, in terms of tokens, you get a plastic card, and then you get a bird token. This is like the most varied one. You get beasts, frog lizards, boars from Theros, which is literally Greek mythology right here. So a bunch of boars, a map token, a couple of copy tokens, and then Merfolk with hexproof, and Merfolk that is just normal Merfolk. And so you can see where this is going. However, you may be thinking, oh, weird, because neither the commander or the co-commander create tokens. How is that, Mr. Pax and Recreation? I will tell you, well, you will see in a second. So, Mist Dancer, an interesting card. Other Merfolk you control get +1/+0, and it has Encore, which is not bad. Ripples of Potential. You proliferate, then choose any number of permanents you control that had a counter put on them this way. Those permanents phase out, which is very, very good, because it's almost like Teferi's Protection, but with proliferation, which is like mech, right? So, mind you, I don't like Merfolk by default. So this is like, when I was playing with it, it was like that. But I like Simic, so there is that. Return each creature without a +1/+1 counter on it to its owner's hand, which is great because, well, you will be protected from that ideally. Descend 8. When you cast this spell, if there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, copy this spell twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, exiled by Gone Marvels, which is very good as well for you to bring back stuff from the graveyard, which is weird given this color combination, but it's there. Merfolk and Druid cards in your graveyard have Retrace. You may cast cards with Retrace from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying their other cost, which is also great because if you look at your commander, what do you have in excess? That's right, kids, mana or lands. So again, another great match. Topography Tracker. When it enters the battlefield, you create a map token. If a creature you control will explore, instead it explores, then it explores again. So it's like double explorations. Tributary Instructor, Mentor, or a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter, it dies, draw a card. Singer of Swift Rivers. When Singer of Swift River enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on it. Another target you control, sorry. You may cast Merfolk spells as though they had Flash, which is amazing for this deck. Then this one gets adapted. +1/+1 counters again. This card is kind of weird, not because of the orientation, but because it's an instant and a sorcery. You put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner library, second from the top, and then Aftermath, you can cast it from your graveyard. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into the library, then draws 7 cards, which is so I don't know if you want that. Coral Helm Commander, so a leveling card. It's kind of okay. These cards sometimes confuse people. It's okay. They put a lot of Merfolk here. You have here the reason why we have so many swines, which is a way to remove stuff, but it exiles and create boards. So this is not, if you will convert something into a board, that will be great because you can get rid of a commander. This way is just cool removal. Emperor Mihail II for 1 and 2 blue. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast Merfolk spells from the top of your library. Whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may pay 1. If you do, you create another Merfolk. So again, this is obviously Merfolk tribal, but the whole +1/+1 thing is a nice addition because apparently everyone contributes to this effort. Kindred Discovery, Kopala, Guardian of the Waves, Master of the Pearl Trident, which is an amazing name. Other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Island Walk. They can be blocked as long as the defending player controls an island, which is very likely because in Commander everyone plays blue, or at least blue and black, because those are the strongest colors. And then Wizards just keeps raising crazy stuff for white because we made too much fun of white, so you have to deal with that now, people. Merfolk Sovereign. Again, other Merfolk get +1/+1. Choose a creature type, and whenever you do something, you copy it, which is great. Seafloor Oracle, or you combat damage, you control do damage to a player, you draw a card. A lot of value around here. So you get to draw cards. This is one of the cards that is like crazy here, but at the same time it's like not that good. For 2 and 1 blue is a 5/5 indestructible god enchantment creature that says, as long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Tassa isn't a creature. It's not Tassa's Oracle, which is a shame. And at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. And if you pay 1 and 1 blue, the creature you control can be blocked this turn, which is okay. I guess that this card is here because flavor, like Merfolk. She's a Merfolk god, like she needs to be here, but the card doesn't match the rest of the theme. It doesn't say anything about Merfolk, whatever. It can be just in any deck with blue. So it's like, whatever. Thieving Skydiver with Kicker, and again, this is the part of the deck. If one of more creature counters with +1/+1 will be put on a creature, put that twice that many +1/+1 instead, which is an amazing enchantment that is here. Branching Evolution. Deeproot Elite. Whenever it enters the battlefield you control, put a +1/+1 counter on target Merfolk you control. So again, obviously as you can see, +1/+1s. So, and I was Realm Walker is like a good fix in between here for you to like do stuff. And I will just like keep moving with this deck, otherwise we'll be here all year. But like, what's the thing what's the thing with this deck? Like, what's the thing with this deck? Actually, this deck may be the most consistent one because it's the most boring one. But that's why I was saying that great commander decks, many great commander decks, ask the question. Like many, I love you, Professor, I swear. Like many commander decks try to do too much stuff at the same time and they fail. This one is kind of boring because it's just +1/+1s. And +1/+1s is not the craziest effect that you will see on a commander deck, that's for sure. So it feels kind of because it's like +1/+1 tribal with Merfolk and some shitty cards like Metallic Mimic. Like, you know, the mana base is okay, but they don't care because your commander is going to fix you a bunch of that mana. So it's okay. And the commander is not that expensive. It's 4, 2, 1 green, 1 blue, right? So this is like the accessory part. Again, you create Merfolk, you give them +1/+1, so they get big. You have some removal, which is great. You see exile, destroy. This is what this is all about. You actually get some flexibility here, and you get a bunch of island walking, which non-ironically makes this deck more cool than it has any right to be, unless you're playing for some reason against people that don't have any blue. But normally there is at least 2 people playing blue and something else on their deck in a 4-player commander night. So that gives you an opening. You can just island walk, and there are a lot of cards here that just give all your creatures island walk, so you can just walk. This card, I saw this online, I found it funny. This deck is called Explorers of the Deep. However, this card whatever. Like, this card is like, okay. It is very redundant because of your commander. Like, why should I play this? Like, yeah, you get 1 card, like, it's pointless. Inspiring Call, Kodama's Reach, because you always need Kodama's Reach. And then oh well, we're not there yet, but you can see that you get a bunch of Merfolk. Compared to other decks, the others, you get a lot more of creatures here. Like, the creatures is the value here, not so much enchantments, not so much anything else. They just work. And then the usual mana fix, right? So Simic Signet, Sol Ring, Swiftboot, Command Tower, everything is here. Janowar Reborn, and then you get lands. I want to step on the lands. Tonight I'm a fly and be a hero. So, a bunch of lands, and it's cool because your commander is going to fix that on you. So far we haven't seen 2 decks where the commander kind of leverages everything, and 1 deck where the commander is okay, but there's nothing to write home about. So before we move into the conclusions, so to the last one, and I left it for last because this was the most hyped one for 2 reasons, or 3 actually. One, because of some of the cards that were inside, people were very hyped about value and all that. Mostly value, because people just think about Magic as an economy, so that's that. Then second, because it was dinosaurs, and everyone loves dinosaurs. And then third, because of the name. The name is the most amazing name that a deck ever had in Magic the Gathering. Veloci-Ramp-Tor. Amazing. So play extra lands, Dino Devastation. This is just Dinosaur Smash. This is great. People love this because, well, you just want more lands to summon bigger threats. So that's all that you need. Let's see what the pun is on this deck. Tiny Armed, Still Dangerous. Which, not the best pun. Oh, wait. They refer to the arms of a T-Rex. Okay. Sorry, Wizards, I doubted you. So, let's see. I love this thing, by the way. The normal tokens of the 4 decks, only 1 has like special branded tokens, if you want to call them that, I guess. There's the deck, the box, the booster, the life counter, the usual, the illustration for the dinosaur, which we really need good dinosaur commanders because Everybody uses Sakama. Or Galta, but mostly Sakama. So the insert, what does the insert say? What does the insert say? Pantlaza, sun-flavored. Sorry, sun-favored. Sun-flavored is only if you kill it and you get to eat it. During the Phyrexian invasion, Pantlaza performed alongside Hualti's company of lancers with his own company of raptors, acting as a vanguard to harry, flank, and disrupt the Phyrexian columns. Pantlaza is infamously independent, a trait he brought to his partnership with Huatli. A quick and canny leader of dinosaurs, Pantlaza works best with other agile dinosaurs and scouts and rangers on long-range missions, independent of any human handling. So everybody does the dinosaur. Both illustrations are very similar. Battle your friends, blah blah blah. So stomp your enemies into the dirt with Pantlaza. Once you ramp, use your extra mana to cast even bigger dinosaurs, who discover free spells and leave the opposition facing extinction. Haha, love the puns. Exceedingly clever and loyal, Pantlaza is the planeswalker Huatli's creature companion and a leader to other dinosaurs on Ixalan. There's this thing that, I mean, I will talk about this very briefly. There's this thing with the PreCons that I've been noticing that is like, Wizards, my dear Wizards, I know that you don't care about your own lore, as we have been noticing recently, and the big events like the Phyrexian invasion, etc., you just like dismiss them very quickly, etc., etc. But there is this thing that they do that is like, the story is so much story that they want to tell that it doesn't fit the set, and they put some stuff in the commander decks, but it feels like it's like extra stuff that is not like canon. But in this case, it's like the companion of Huatli, so it's like, that seems canon. But like one of the decks, I remember noticing this in one of the decks from Phyrexia, or will be one, the one from Scion of whatever, the Phyrexian deck, because you had a Rebellion deck and a Phyrexian deck. And the Phyrexian deck, the commander is the daughter of Atraxa. And that seemed relevant to me in terms of lore, but apparently it's not. It's just like, it's a commander for the PreCons, and that's it. Echoing Dips. You may have Echoing Dips enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any land card in a graveyard, except it is a cave in addition to its other types. Not bad. And then, Nikanzil, Current Conductor. Kind of a thing to read that. This is a creature, Merfolk Scout, amazing looking art. Whenever a creature you control explores a land card, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tab. Whenever a creature you control explores a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on Nikanzil, Current Conductor. So, not bad. Again, the collector booster samples are that samples. They are not indicative of anything. You should not buy a PreCon thinking, oh, maybe I will get that card, because you won't. And certainly you shouldn't buy the PreCons just because they include a sample. The sample is not that good. It's not worth that much. And if you are that desperate, I mean, just buy the singles for the love of Huatli. Just buy the singles. Like, yeah, like we open a bunch of collector booster boxes in this channel, and we do it for the lulz and for fun and to show you what is there. But like, just buy the singles, really. Trust me. Otherwise, it's gambling. It's always gambling. When you buy a PreCon, not because you know exactly what is in there, but there's a reason why PreCons are not always like the most crazy thing ever, right? So, Pantlaza, sun-favored for 2, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 white is a 4/4 dinosaur, and it says whenever Pantlaza or another dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may discover X, where X is that creature's toughness. Do this only once each turn. Exile, and what is discover? Well, discover is exile cards from the top of the library until you exile a non-land card with that mana value or less. Cast it without paying its mana cost and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom. So basically is Explore is Discover is basically I forgot the name of the Cascade. So Explore is Cascade, basically. So not bad. A dinosaur with Cascade, that's very good. Plus, if it was only Pantlaza, that will be But if Pantlaza or another dinosaur enters the battlefield, it gives you Cascade for toughness. And toughness in dinosaurs is usually pretty good, so that's not bad. Let's see what's the co-commander here. So it's Waita, Trainer Prodigy, a very Jurassic Park-like looking card. For 1 red, 1 green, 1 white, is a human warrior. That is a 1/5. It has haste, and it says, for 2 and 1 green, tap it. Target creature you control fights another target creature. This ability costs 2 less to activate if it targets 2 creatures you control. So that's flavorful. If you want to make creatures fight amongst them, you can, for cheaper. If a creature you control being dealt damage causes a trigger, the ability of a permanent you control to trigger, the ability triggers an additional time. So I get the flavor, which is like, since she's a trainer, she's training 2 dinosaurs together, right? And there you go. I mean, Pantlaza still seems like the best commander, but this is, and that's why I said that with the Merfolk is like the exception. It's not like she's incompatible with Pantlaza, but it's not trying to achieve the same. Like, this is like, if a creature you control being dealt damage causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that will trigger an additional time, which is not the same as Pantlaza. Pantlaza is just like, every time a dinosaur enters, Cascade, and that's it. But here is like, oh, well, you get a bunch of dinosaurs that have, when you get damage, you do this. So you can either, use that by default, or you can trigger it on your own because opponents may stop attacking you after a certain point. So you just hit yourself, which is a thing. And she has haste for some reason, which is, I guess it's to pay the training cost ASAP. Let's see the tokens. You have the plastic card, and then you have an elephant, and, well, you guessed it, Dinosaur Beast, Dinosaur Beast, Dinosaur Beast, Dinosaur Beast, Dinosaur Beast. 2 copies. The Monarch, a City's Blessing, which is standard in these decks. And green dinosaurs with trample, a bunch of them, because, well, you'll see in a second. So, a bunch of dinosaurs, a sad elephant here, and the copies and the usual Ixalan stuff. Let's see the cards in here. So you have Bronze Beak Foragers. So when enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until it leaves the battlefield. So not that bad. I don't think this works for commanders. I always have this doubt. I never remember exactly what type of exile. It doesn't, I think, because it gets exiled, they can pay the mana cost, and then if you get them removed, they can bring it back. So again, but at least it gets 1 from each opponent, so not bad. You become a target immediately, which is good because you may want to get attacked because of some other effects. But if you pay X and 1 white, you put target card with mana value X exiled with Bronze Beak Foragers into its owner's graveyard, and you get X life. So you can kill the stuff, which is okay, I guess. From the rubble, when enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, dinosaurs, and at the beginning of the end step, return target creature card of the chosen type from the graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. If a creature with a finality counter on it will die, exile it instead. So you can bring stuff back. It's kind of expensive, but it is what it is. Wrathful Raptors. So whenever you dinosaur you control deals damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dinosaur. So there is a reason why the Trainer Prodigy is here, and the reason is for cards like this. So Pantlaza just works with an entire deck. She is more of a controlled effort. She doesn't necessarily ring with entire deck. That's why I think she's great for the 99. Like you pull her and you're like, oh nice, I can switch the tables a little bit. But I wouldn't use this deck with her. I would build a deck around her, I guess, but it's kind of very specific and weird. Pantlaza is just very good as a dinosaur commander. Curious Altisaur, this card is very good for mana fixing because for getting cards, because whenever a dinosaur you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So there you go. Dinosaur Egg, it evolves, and when dinosaur egg dies, you may discover X, where X is its toughness. So not bad. Scion of Calamity, it has Myriad, and when Scion of Calamity deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. So Sunfrill Imitator, it becomes a copy of another target dinosaur, except the name is that, and it has this ability. So, and it's every time it attacks. So you make copy effects, which in turn helps with the other stuff. Progenitor's Icon, which is, kind of good mana fix. Akroma's Will, this is a very good card. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both. So creatures you control gain Flying, Vigilance, and Double Strike on the end of turn, and creatures you control gain Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from all colors on the end of turn. So if you have your commander on the battlefield for some reason, mind you, this works for every deck on existence that has white. It doesn't need to be this deck in particular or dinosaurs. So if you use this in any deck that has white, this is a very one-shot kill card if you use it in the correct moment. Plus it's an instant. So there is that. Kinjali's Sunwing. This is like what's the name of that card that just makes everything enter tapped? I don't remember, but this is a pain in the ass as a card for your opponent. This deck has like 4 or 5 cards that are very pain in the ass kind of cards and makes people want to attack you or at least get rid of those cards, which is good. Problem is that sometimes they just remove them, they don't necessarily attack you. So there is that, because you have a lot of this, right? If a source will deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but one of that damage. Awakening Sun's Avatar, big ass card, the 7/7 that costs 5 and 3 white and says whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, destroy all non-dinosaur creatures. So very good board wipe. Zetalpa, because why not? Chandra's Ignition, which I guess because it's red, it's just fireballs, literally, like create you deal damage equal to that power to each opponent. Etali Primal Storm, which is very good. Now the other Etali should be here, the Phyrexianized one, although I don't like to use it because I don't like using Phyrexianized cards in like theme decks, because it's like, oh, but this one is dead. I don't know, it's a thing, it's a me thing, sorry. But yeah, so Etali is here, it's necessary in this deck because free stuff. So Fiery Confluence, not bad. Marauding Raptor, Apex Altisaur, Death Gorge Scavenger, and you can see kind of the thing here is basically big dinosaur smash. Like there are some more refined strategies here to do, but it's not like there is like a crazy thing here. Like it's a tribal with dinosaurs, right? So if you don't like, you may do it, you may cast stuff, you may cast dinosaurs without paying its mana cost. Whenever another dinosaur enters, you do this. Whenever you attack, you get this. Whenever stuff, Regal Behemoth is there because of course. Whenever you get damage, you do this, you do that. Like, so then you have some cards like this one that is like, okay. Like Ripjaw Raptor. This is a card that you can just put in any green deck, I guess, that has non-human. So Ripjaw Raptor is like, okay, whenever it's dealt damage, draw a card. Again, if you have these cards and you play with a co-commander, I guess you're there. That's why I say that the co-commander on this deck, if the other two, the co-commander is like, sorry, what? And the Merfolk one is the best combination. This one is like middle term in the sense that you could build a deck entirely around Waita, the trainer prodigy, but do you want to? Like, Pantlaza is just a lot more fun to work with, and it just gives you a bunch of free stuff. For, not that expensive of a dinosaur. It's 5. It's kind of expensive, but it's a 4/4. And you can't just leave it there for it to cascade you. And the deck is full of that. Now, the fun thing about this deck is that, and you may be realizing that, is that it says, well, whenever it deals, you have some create dinosaur cards, but you have a lot of expensive cards here. And when I say expensive, it's like, two red, one green, 3, 1 red, 1 green, 3, 1 red, 1 green, etc. And it's like, what's another god? Crazy. This one is here, and it could be removed as well. It's like, it works, but at the same time, it's like, Sakama Primal Calamity is here, so there is that. The colors of the dinosaurs: Lifecrafter Bestiary, Arc of Oraska, Canopy Vista, Cinder Glade. So the usual mana fix, the normal mana fix. You're not getting anything crazy here. It's 3 colors, so you get a little bit more of crazy things. Now for the okay cards, the elephant is here obviously because of Generous Gift. You get cards like this that is like, whenever is dealt damage, you put a +1/+1 counter. It's like, okay. Whenever attacks another dinosaur you control against flying, like, okay. Path to Exile, mandatory for white. Earthshaker, Dreadmaw, Ixalan Doorkeeper, Trashing Brontodon. Like sacrifice Trashing Brontodon. So something is like, okay. Autoplay Headmaster. It's Quinth, firstborn of Gishath. Enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. When you do, I just want you to notice something. It's like, well, this is a dinosaur go boom, right? So there is not that much to do. You can get cards with basic mana fixing, and your mana is okay, and you have some mana dudes like this one. It's just like, I had 1 mana of any color, which is not that bad for a thing that for 2 gives you is a 1/1 that gets +2/+2 if you get a dinosaur. So if you always want to get a dinosaur in here, so it's by default is almost always a 3/3 that gives you 1 mana of any color. So that's kind of okay. You have some stuff to get you lands, but say like search library for basic lands, search library for basic lands, search library for basic lands. You get a bunch of search library for basic lands and search library for lands. However, and let me just get to the mana part so that we can talk about this properly after you see kind of more or less all that is here. See, add 1 mana of any color, not that bad. 1 damage, 1 damage. Creature spells you control can be countered. And then the commander basics. I guess some of we're getting some of the signets in here as well. Nope, we're not. And then a bunch of basics for most colors with a bunch of green over the other 2 colors. So what's the thing with this deck? What's the good and the bad? It's an interesting deck, but it's not the best dinosaur deck that you can build. The commander is very good, but it's not the best dinosaur deck that you can build, and the reason for that is it has a bit of an identity problem. It doesn't, like, if you see the box, it says Veloci-Ramp-Tor, play extra lands, Dino Devastation. And it's kind of misleading. Is the opposite type of misleading as the Merfolk one was, because the Merfolk one said +1/+1 counters, explore for lands and buffs. And it's like, yeah, you had some exploring, but it's mostly +1/+1s, but the way that the deck did +1/+1 is more fun that it leads on. This one says, it's called Veloci-Ramp-Tor, and it says like, play extra lands. And it's like, well, you don't have that many things that tell you explicitly, you can play an extra land, or like put lands here. You can search for lands, sure, and then based on that, well, X or Z can happen. But it's not like, the deck is not that rampful. I feel that the description is wrong from my experience, because what happens with this deck is very similar to what happens with the PreCon from Commander Masters for Eldrazi, which is you want to get Pantlaza out as fast as possible, and then from that moment on, just keep spinning dinosaurs. The moment you put a dinosaur there, you start discovering, and you can only do it once each turn. So there is no endless loops here, because otherwise it will be a crazy endless loop, right? So And you put a dinosaur that gives you another free dinosaur. And most dinosaurs here are very, blocky. So likely you get a proper, more tough dinosaur, because you exile cards until you exile a non-card that is that mana value or less, right? So it's basically Cascade. It's Cascade. So what's the problem? You don't have the mana for anything else. Like, you don't have the mana fix for anything else, because there is this 1/4 of the deck that is concerned about, whenever this creature is deal damage as well. And that's why you have the second commander, the trainer, in there. And that kind of works. But at the same time, you just feel like, can I go faster? Can I go faster? So in terms of upgrades for this deck, is like pick a lane. You either go dinosaurs, go boom, 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 or which is basically like Pantlaza and every crazy dinosaur you can get and a bunch of mana ramp, which you can get because it's green. So you don't have that many mana fix here, which is like mana ramp here, which is crazy. Like, you go faster than the other decks in some regards, but you don't go as fast as you can go. Like, yes, you can, with Migration Path, you can get 2 lands tapped, but it costs you 4, so it's not like an early game kind of thing. You can put 1 into battle for 2. Again, it's like, you don't, you get lands and you put them into the battlefield tapped, so you get ways of doing that. But it's not like the fastest or the cheapest way of doing that, because the commander itself is not incentivizing you to go there. Like, yes, you want to get to 5 mana as fast as possible so that you can start spinning stuff, but the deck is not there mentally. I will say it's fun to play with, but it's not there mentally. And to me, that's very funny, because it goes against the description of the deck itself, which is very funny. So let's do like the summaries, and let's talk about each commander deck. Like, this is if you want to skip the almost 2 hours of a crazy guy opening precons and talking, I guess this is where you click. Which one of these precons is best? Well, you know that in this channel we don't care that much about the value. The value is important, don't get me wrong, but I never bought a precon or a Magic product or any card game product thinking about think about the value, because for 2 reasons. One, I don't resell my stuff most of the time. Like, if I wanted for me to play with, is for me to play with. So there is no, the value is nice, but it's like whatever. Plus, if you don't get it, if you want to resell it, if you want to buy a precon of this to immediately break it into pieces and resell it, because maybe there's 2 or 3 cards that you actually want and the rest you can make a profit for them, I guess that's okay. But that's too much work. Maybe it's just cheaper to get the singles in most occasions. I like the precons to play with the precons, and they only get cheaper with time. So and when they're cheaper with time, and the reprints and stuff are not that as important there, I want you to look at these videos and be like, what will be the most fun for me to play with, or what will be the one that fits more with my play style, or which one can I upgrade and make funnier things to mess up my friends in Friday Night Magic, right? So summary of each deck. So Admiral Brass, Unsinkable, which for some reason is very difficult to read the name. The shine here doesn't let me read the name properly. I think that Admiral Brass Beckett on Unsinkable is the worst commander of the 4. It's not that she is bad, but it's not as good as the others. And I think that's the problem, because also I don't think that her deck follows her, which is ironic because she's an admiral, she's the captain of a ship. So the pirates follow her blindly, and that's kind of the thing, because she revives them again and again and again. So there is this following thing, but the deck doesn't really seem to accompany her. The co-commander is playing a completely different game. I don't know what's happening with that co-commander, with Don Andres or whatever it's called. So I will discard that and everything that follows that thing, because it's not a hostage deck. Sadly, because I will be like a funnier deck, in my opinion, since I don't like playing black and reviving stuff, etc. But what's the gameplay with this one? Well, ideally, what you want to do is just attack, and bring stuff from the graveyard, right? And that's kind of the whole thing here. The deck insists in you getting stuff from your graveyard. The whole deck is around that. It's very black, even though it has 3 colors, but somehow it doesn't mill yourself, or it doesn't do anything to get you to get stuff in the graveyard besides the red cards, because the red cards are just want you to go and attack, and they will give you treasure tokens. So the kind of cycle here with this one is just attack, do calculated attacks, even if they kill your stuff, because you can bring it back, and if by attacking you get treasure tokens, that's best because you can just bring stuff. In terms of upgrades, yeah, just remove like a fifth of the deck, which is the whole like kidnapping cards, and just focus more on cemetery and milling yourself if you want to get there faster, or giving you more options to attack like crazy, more things with haste, etc. So there is that. Clavileño is crazy. Like as a commander, I think is likely the most fun of the 4. I don't know if it's the best, but certainly the most fun. The co-commander, again, is playing a completely different game. I don't know what's happening here. I think that this deck is very fun. Thematically, it works with what Clavileño is technically doing with the vampires, so I love that flavor bit. And it's just, it's similar to Admiral Brass in the sense that you need to attack, because most of the times, most of your deck is going to be attack, so that your things die, and by dying you can convert them into flying vampire demons. And when you have flying vampire demons that are a lot more stronger, and they have flying, they're a lot harder to block, and that's kind of what you want. And the whole deck is just create vampires. So it's a very good vampire tribal that, if you want a good vampire tribal, I think this one is a lot better than, for example, the Innistrad one, which is sad because Innistrad will be the home of vampires ideally, but whatever. And even though Clavileño is a great commander, that incentivizes attacking. So again, is an attack deck. I don't think it's going to dethrone Edgar Markov, but Clavileño for sure goes into the 99. Now, the rest of the deck, again, there's like this 1/5 of the deck that you can just remove that has to do with the other commander, which I don't even remember, the co-commander. That's how much I care about it. Carmen, the Cruel Sky Marcher. Yeah, whenever you sacrifice a permanent +1/+1. Like, yeah, you can leave her there, or you can just remove that. Like, there's some cards that's like, oh, sacrifice, like, whatever. Because unless the sacrifice helps the efforts of Clavileño, it doesn't really matter. You just want to kill, you want to attack, so you sacrifice stuff. Now, my pet peeves with this deck, and in terms of upgrades, is, get rid of that 1/5, and then get more cards that do stuff with life, because I feel that you get a bunch of vampires with lifelink, you get a bunch of cards that say everyone loses life, you gain life because vampires suck in blood, But what do you do with the life? Like, yes, if you have a lot of life, it's a lot more difficult for people to kill you unless they do like commander damage or they are playing with toxic, like some psychopath. But at the same time, not really. This deck will greatly benefit for you to put upgrades in here that pay stuff with life, because you will get a bunch of life eventually and you'll get some use from it. But the deck is pretty good as it is. Now, Hackwell and the Merfolk is an interesting deck. This commander pair is my favorite as a pair. Like the commander and the co-commander, I think that both fit. I think that if you have both on the battlefield, they're a crazy combination. They're super dangerous. So, and pretty much all the cards in here fit. Like I didn't have this feel of like, oh, there's 1/5 of the deck or 1/4 of the deck that doesn't match the theme. Here is like, everyone fits because everything is either a Merfolk or gives you +1/+1. So it's like there is no running away from it, which is, I think, the most consistent. and it's very fun to play with. I went in thinking that this will be a lot more boring and be like, yeah, Merfolk and +1/+1s. Okay, another +1/+1 deck. But it's very creative with the ones that it gives you +1/+1s and like triggers and other things. And the commander is very fun because you explore and then you can put Ixalan. So ironically, this one that is not called Ramp-Tor has better ramp than the dinosaur one. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think that this is the most consistent and the best second commander combination between the four. And Pantlaza is the hype deck. So we need to understand something. Sometimes hyping stuff too much plays against the stuff. And in this case, I think it was the case because everyone's like, oh, dinosaurs, and it's called Veloci-Ramp-Tor, and it's going to be crazy. And it's okay, it's cool, but it's like, I mean, Pantlaza is a great commander. I wouldn't say is better than Sakama, maybe. I don't know, but at least it has like this cascade ability, which is great for you to get stuff out. So I think that's great. I think that the co-commander is very creative, but it happens like the Sliver PreCon from Commander Masters, that the co-commander was the scientist thingy that changes types to slivers, and it's like, thank you, I guess. And here the co-commander is like, yeah, you can put creatures to fight between themselves, also your creatures, which is cheaper. And it's like, thank you, I guess. So the co-commander, it's nice, is a very good card to be in the 99. That's why I say that it's not as bad as the others. That it's like, what are you doing here? It doesn't not match the deck. It kind of derails the deck a little bit, but it just keeps working because the fun thing about the dinosaurs deck is that if you look at it from Pantlaza's perspective, the goal on this deck is just put bigger stuff on the battlefield. It's like, okay. If you look at it from the box perspective, the box is like play extra lands. The deck doesn't really lean itself to the play extra lands thing that much. It kind of plays, but it doesn't play that much that way. And then you have the co-commander, which is like, yeah, every time that a creature that has a dealt damage ability triggers, it triggers twice, and also you can make them fight for cheap. And you're like, okay, so you have 1/4 of the deck, if not more, that is just dinosaurs that have, when this creature receives damage, this happens. So technically the co-commander is very useful here, but it's not that useful. So it's like a deck that promises one thing, the commander does another, and the co-commander goes the other way. It's fun to play with, but it just feels weird because it's not as fast as you will need it to be. And the cascade thing, or explore, or discover, sorry, it takes a while to actually start hitting. When it starts hitting is a pain for everyone else in the board, but like, it takes a while. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, you're focusing too much on the co-commander, saying that you can make your own creatures fight, but you can actually make your dinosaurs fight other creatures, and therefore you have like this easy way of eliminating threats on the board and also make damage to your dinosaurs, because your dinosaurs, even if they win the fight, they get damaged, so you can trigger their abilities. And it's like, and they trigger twice. And it's like, well, that's true, but what pains me is that card is in the 99 and is not good enough to be the commander, in my opinion. But I think that from all the co-commanders, I think that the trainer one is the one that you can build a deck around the easiest, and that actually will slap a lot if you actually play it, smart. So that's kind of the thing. Now, in terms of ranking, because everyone loves ranking, and ranking is coming. So in terms of fun to play with, at least from my humble perspective, I think is somewhere like this. So I had a lot of fun with the Merfolk. Who will say? I wasn't expecting that. I was actually betting for Clavileño, and I like Clavileño, but this one slaps. So if you want me to be, I guess that you could pair these two, and then these ones are here, I guess. Like, this is the less fun, in my opinion, humble opinion, just because I don't like the type of play that is proposing. In terms of the commander themselves, yeah, I think that this is the order for like better commander to mech commander, unless you really like dinosaurs, in which case I guess that it goes like this. Because Pantlaza is very good. You just need to build around it. I guess that all of them are good. You just need to build properly around them. But that's how I felt it. And in terms of the deck itself, like the one that felt the most powerful when playing with them, I will say something like this. No, actually like this. I felt very powerful playing with Clavileño because I will just kill stuff, kill my own stuff. It comes back as demons. I just keep pestering people. Is, you know, everything that you wish on a vampire deck. This one I felt very powerful as well. A lot of good synergies. The synergies are, I think, in some regards are better than with the vampires one, but I don't think they trigger as easily as the vampire one. So the vampire one triggers easily, so that is why I think this one is more powerful. Pantlaza is very powerful as long as you can put your stuff into the battlefield and stuff starts rolling, then you are unstoppable. But you know, we're talking out of the box. So out of the box, it needs a lot of ramp. With proper ramp, ironically, the Veloci-Ramp-Tor will be like best by far, but in terms of power, but it doesn't have proper ramp, so it goes here. And Admiral Brass, I'm sorry, but I just didn't feel like very powerful. The deck just feels kind of all over the place. This is like the meh deck, in my opinion. But yeah, so this is kind of the summary, in my opinion, in terms of power. In terms of fun, I guess that you can even exchange these two or make it like this. This will be like the ranking. You know, these are these, like one on top of the other doesn't matter. It's just to say like same level and then this order. Dinosaurs one, I kind of got disappointed. I got very surprised by the Merfolk, and it's a shame that the Pirates deck is not my taste. But I want to stress that out. It's not my taste. It's not a bad deck. It's not up to my taste. When we played with 4 people with these decks, it was actually very fun. And these decks kind of play nice against each other because they are going for completely different themes, and therefore the mechanics kind of go on their own, and there's not a lot of feel bad stuff, and the cards are more or less balanced, but it comes down to speed. So if you play with these decks as is, what's going to happen is that a lot of times the victory is going to be between these two until this one comes along and starts smashing people. And this one is kind of there. This one can make a surprise comeback at some point, but it's just kind of there. So I don't know, but that's my experience so far from playing like 4 or 5 times with them each, me personally, and then, you know, decks. So I don't know. I know this was a long video. We haven't done a commander deck review in a while, and I was rusty. That's why the video is longer. You can tell when I am rusty because the videos get longer, and then suddenly I just get faster again, and I get slower. And I actually wanted to talk about this because I like the themes of the deck. I think that these decks are actually very good compared to others. Like all of the 4 decks are very good. They just have like nitpicks and little stuff that you need to fix and change for them to be like amazing decks. And I like the themes of the decks. So I just wanted to tackle on that. But yeah, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I hope you like the podcast in the background while you were working or something. And yeah. Overall, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a great time. Please let me know down below if you play with any of these decks, if you agree, if you disagree, if you have a different strategy, if I got anything wrong. I'm here to learn, and it's always fun to debate with people. And as usual, I will see you next time on PAX and Recreation. Bye.